So you guys may have recently seen me trade with a new firm called FundedNext. However, FundedNext is anything but a new firm. They've been a firm that's been around in the industry for over 4 years, and they've had over $100 million in verifiable payouts, as I'm going to show you guys later in this video. Now, they recently opened their doors to the US market, and me being from the US, I wanted to add to the firms that I was trading with, and I was pleasantly surprised with the experience. Now, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down, is FundedNext worth it? Should you add it to your allocation in terms of capital? And is it worth your time and efforts to get paid out? All right, so here's a website for FundedNext. Now, they do have a future side, but I made prior videos, as I said earlier, in regards to this. But I'm going to focus more so on the CFD side of things as well. Now, they do offer account services to US clients, which is very important because prior to this, they didn't have the US market. So if you're from the US and you want to trade with a prop firm that's been around for years, that's done hundreds of millions in payouts, this is a good reputable firm. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about it as well in terms of key highlights. So I'll talk about the challenges in terms of like which one I personally think is actually the best challenge. And they have probably one of the fastest ways to get funded, which I'm going to talk about in just a bit. But some of their key highlights. So there is no time limit. So if you're someone who likes to take your time, that is going to be a benefit in this. There also is a 15% performance reward in the challenge phase. So you get 15% performance. However, you do have to hit, I think it was about 5 or 6 payouts before you can unlock this. But if you're someone who you're going to have the account for a long amount of time, this is just going to be a great add-on. Now, the one thing that I do like about this one specifically that's not labeled here is, oh, actually, no, it's right here. So they have a guaranteed reward system. And this to me is very important because whenever I request a payout or whenever someone requests a payout, you want to get the money as soon as possible so you can continue trading on the account. Now, some firms are going to have about 2 to 3 business days to issue your payout. FundedNext is probably the only firm that guarantees that you're going to get your payout within 24 hours or you get an additional $1,000. Now, both the payouts that I've requested have come before 24 hours. That's the only time I probably would have been okay if the payout was a little bit delayed. Now, they do offer, again, all the different platforms. So MetaTrader 5, MetaTrader 4. So if you're not from the US, you can use these platforms. However, if you're from the US, you can use CTrader and you can use MatchTrader. I personally prefer MatchTrader. Haven't really got to test out CTrader, but MatchTrader I'm just very comfortable with. All right, now let's get into the plans. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons. However, I'm only going to cover these two specifically because I think they're pretty much the main staple of it. Now, the Stellar two-step is pretty much your traditional 8% phase 1, 5% phase 2. However, you do have a maximum loss limit of 10%. Some firms, they'll typically have about 8% and your daily loss limit will be 4% if the phase 1 target is 8%. So the challenge is a little bit easier compared to other firms because most firms now, if the phase 1 is 8%, typically the maximum loss limit is going to be 8% as well. And typically the daily loss limit will be 4%. So this one, to give you a little bit more of a buffer, you are allowed to trade on the news, which is pretty good because, again, most firms are not going to have the ability to trade through news, or you're going to have it as some sort of add-on. So if you're someone who wants to hold trades during news, this is going to be a challenge for you as well. Now, here is the thing that I will say is a little bit of a con, but this is why I prefer the Stellar one step. Your first minimum trading day is going to be 5 days. So you're going to have to wait 5 days for each phase. So phase 1, phase 2 is going to take you 5 days each. So assuming you pass, if you're someone who tries to pass fast, the reality is you're going to have to wait at least 10 days. And then once you get the account, your first withdrawal is going to be at 21 days. However, after your first withdrawal, it's going to go back to bi-weekly. So you can request it every 14 days after the first one. So that first payout might take a little bit of time. However, again, if you get, depending on how many payouts you get, you can unlock 15% performance rewards from the challenge phase. So overall, pretty solid challenge. Now, here is honestly, I think is a very underrated challenge, which is the Stellar one step. The Stellar one step is for those traders that want speed to funding because, and I'm going to highlight it right away, the minimum trading days is 2 days and the first withdrawal is within 5 days. So you could theoretically pass your evaluation and get funded within 1 week. If you're someone who wants to go after a specific challenge like that, where you get where you care more about the speed of getting funded, this one, in my opinion, is probably one of the better ones out in the market. The profit target is only going to be a phase one, so it's only 10%. Once you have that 10% profit target, that's it, you're good to go. The maximum loss limit on this account is going to be 6%. So obviously they're going to have to make it up somewhere. So you're going to have a tighter leash, and you can only lose up to 3% as well. However, there is news trading on this as well. So again, if you're someone who wants news trading, and you want to be able to pass fairly quick, in my opinion, I haven't seen any uh, product out in the market that kind of has all these different metrics as well. So in my opinion, the Stellar One Step is probably one of my more favorite plans because I am someone who wants to get funded as soon as possible. And yes, even though the drawdown limits are pretty tight, it is only one phase. And at the end of the day, you know, you shouldn't really be risking more than 3% anyways on your funded account in any given day. So this is the benefit of having this account. It is a little bit more expensive, relatively speaking, between the Stellar 2-Step. But yeah, now if you guys actually want a discount to using FundedNext, make sure to check out the link in the description below. I left a code for you guys. Now, the main thing is this: whenever you're with a prop firm, you want to know whether or not they're going to be reliable so you can get paid out. Now, this is one thing that I wanted to show you guys as well to kind of like bring it to perspective. In 2025, out of $324 million in payouts that were tracked by this third-party prop firm Match, FundedNext ranked number 1 and number 3. So FundedNext, like the CFD side that I just showed you guys, over $107 million was paid out. And with FundedNext Futures, they were able to pay out over $46 million. So again, this is verified, not from FundedNext from themselves, right? But this is from a third party. So, and it goes to show that they have some of the highest payout volume, which again, you can rest assured that they're going to be able to pay you out as well. On top of also, again, having the 24-hour payout guarantee where you get an additional $1,000, which just goes to show how much emphasis they put in terms of making sure their traders get paid. So again, I've had a great experience with them. I've gotten multiple payouts with them so far, and I hope to get more payouts with them as well. And yeah, I just think it's a great firm, especially if you're from the US, from the CFD side, where you can add to your allocation. Now, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be dropping reviews on firms that I'm using, the benefits, the pros, the cons, and which firm is going to fit your style.